Welcome everybody to Tucson Dowsers November 4th, 2023 monthly Zoom meeting. And today our speaker is Raymon Grace, and he's going to be speaking to us about what could you do if you didn't know you couldn't. And he'll be answering questions that people have been sending him for the last 3 months. So I sent all of the questions to Raymon. He has chosen the ones that he will answer, said some of the questions he didn't know the answer to. And anyway, so he's choosing the questions that he felt he could answer and give you valuable information with. So okie dokie, Raymon the Great, you can begin. Thank you.
Hey, I want to thank you. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to talk with you here today. And yes, I did leave out some questions because some I didn't understand exactly what you want to know. Others, even if I did understand them, I didn't know the answer. So I saw no reason to waste time reading a question that I couldn't give you a decent answer for, so I just omitted them. But we'll put in some other things in the middle of it here now. Oh, I'm going to address a few questions right here first, and I'll turn it over. I've got 3 pages of them here. And the first one, I believe Heather from Australia, I think you sent this one. What changes have I made in dowsing in the past year? Well, I stopped dowsing for people who ask unintelligent questions. If I got a question, fix my marriage, and don't even sign their name, that's why they put delete buttons on computers, and I use them. So anyone that writes me and doesn't at least identify themselves gets deleted. No apologies made. That's the way it is. So be intelligent enough to tell me where you're from, your name, and a little bit about what you hope I can do. I don't need a life story, just like maybe 2 sentences. That's enough. You would be amazed at the emails I get some of them don't even sign their name. So that's what I've changed. I don't deal with them anymore. They automatically get deleted. All right. Another one is I stopped dowsing for lost car keys, various objects, missing cats, and all those things. If you don't know where you put them, I don't know where you put them, and I don't have time to look for them. So don't ask me to do that anymore. So that's the biggest thing. Let's see, I've got something else here. No, that pretty much did it. I just had to get more selective. Why? Because as of the last time I looked, a day or so ago, there was over 35,000 emails that I had responded to. I can't do it anymore, so don't ask. If you write me an intelligent email, very brief, and I can help you, I'll contact you. If I can't help you, then if you've written me something like that, I will tell you I am unable to help you. Now, I don't want you to be offended about this, but I'm not Jesus, and I can't fix everybody. I mean, it's not realistic. We get miracles happen every now and then, but we don't have them happen all the time. So one of the first things, or the first thing I do, I send it down and say, can I help this person? If I get a no, I write a polite note back. I am unable to help you. And if you write back and say why, that gets the delete button. Okay. Don't give a whole lot of explanation, but it's the only sensible way I can handle this many people. If I can help you, I will send an email saying, okay, I can get back with you. We can maybe Skype or whatever. And I'll reach as many of you as I can. I'll put it that way. Now, let me explain something. I am a small town farmer. So in the summer, I am out working in the garden, and I don't have a whole lot of time. In the winter, and the winter is coming on here now fairly rapidly, I should have a little more time. So I'm going to try to catch up with a few hundred emails that I haven't had time to answer. But if you write me and you don't get a response, don't take it as rudeness. It's just that I can only handle so many. Okay, hope I got that clear. All right. Now, Heather, I don't know why you want me to do this, but you want me to tell about the 30 Italians that came over here for a class and how we worked that out. Well, we worked it out a lot easier than I thought we would, because I don't speak Italian. They didn't speak English. So Ali Pavardes that brought them over here, I said, Ali, the only thing I know to do is I will speak slowly, distinctly, and use as few words as possible. Then you translate it for me. You know what happened? We taught the entire class in the same amount of time that I did it by myself. It should have taken twice as long, but it didn't. I haven't quite figured that out, except for one thing. I programmed and program means set an intention to have enough time to say everything that needed to be said in an understandable manner. And it worked. We'd never done that before, but it worked. So would it work again? Probably. I want to say something else about intention here. People ask me a lot of questions. Some I can answer, some I can't. But they will say, how did you clean up a lake in Australia when you didn't even know where it was? How did you move a wall? This was an energetic wall, as near as I can tell, up in Manitoba, that the rains couldn't seem to come past it. The rancher contacted me and said, the rain will come in from the southwest, and then it just stops. It won't come any further. Well, I didn't know what to do. I looked into the matter, and there was an energetic wall. I have no idea why or who put it there, if anybody did. What I did, I took the wall down. Guess what? It rained. And people say, how did you do that? The same way I cleaned up the water in that big lake in Australia, the same way as of, when was it? Last month. I have a pretty famous pop star as a friend over in Europe. So every time she has concerts, I clean up the whole concert. There were 16,000 people in this one. Well, obviously, I don't know 16,000 people in Europe. I didn't know anybody there except her. But we cleaned it up, and she said, this is one of the best concerts I ever had. Folks, this is what you can do if you will really get serious about dowsing and using your mind. And now you say, how did you do all that? And I'm going to answer you in one word, with intent. Intent is the one word that answers all the questions of how did you do it? So you might wonder, how did I develop that intent? By practice. See, I was reading a book once upon a time. I don't really get time to read mail, so I don't have time to read books. But it said that every star athlete had practiced at least 10,000 hours. Well, with 35,000 emails, I've got a lot more practice than that. So if you want to be a really efficient dowser, you got to practice. So I'm trying to give you a pep talk here. You say, what do I practice on? Anything you want to know. For example, I even check to see if I'm going out to the post office or the grocery store, do I go before lunch or after lunch? You say, is it important? It might be, it might not be. That's why you dial. Find out. You see, timing is everything. Every wreck that occurred on the highway would not have occurred if one driver had been 2 seconds faster or slower. So it's very important to be at the right place at the right time. So what do? You put that into your mental programming, that every time you go anywhere, I will always be at the right place at the right time. I've actually made several trips with that in mind. I remember when April was about 7, I was taking her somewhere over in Carolina. Was scheduled to make a talk to a small group of people about 7 o'clock. And taking a 7-year-old kid, you got to stop and feed them or take them to the bathroom or whatever. Then you've got traffic to deal with and all that. But guess what? We drove in the driveway at 7 o'clock. Why? Because we set an intent to do it. Now, there's many, many stories like that. If one should be sufficient. But you say, what about a long distance? Well, I drove from here to Black Hawk, South Dakota, which is a 3-day trip. I messed up on that one. I got there 15 minutes early. So that's what can be done. But you got to use your mind to do it. and you got to believe you can do it. You say, how do I? A lot of people have doubts. They just don't have confidence. Well, practice will give you confidence. So what this is a pep talk for dowsers. If you want to get good at it, you got to use it. If you buy a pendulum and take it home, put it in a nice little, wrap it in a silk handkerchief and put it in the box in a dresser drawer, and every now and then take it out to show your neighbors or something, you ain't going to learn how to douse. You got to use the thing. So you douse which road to take going somewhere. Why? It might make a difference. I'll give you a brief story. I might have told this one last year, or I've told it a bunch of times. I had a person call me. He was down in Texas. He was going to Denver. He was going to go up I-35, hit I-70 west to go into Denver. And I said, don't go that way. He said, why? I said, I don't know. But my dowsing says it's not good for you, so pick you another road. Well, the next day he called. I-35 was flooded. He couldn't have got through. Now, I didn't actually know that. I just knew it wasn't a good thing to do. Now, I'm going to go a little bit further here. You can actually dial to see if anyone has any intent to burglarize your house. And you can see if you or your family are in any danger on any kind of situation. I have a lot of people contact me to clean up airports for them. They're flying for various places to see if there's any terrorist in the airport, or any going to be on the plane, or if it's dangerous, or whatever. Now, you don't need me to do that, folks. You can do that for yourself. But before you go anywhere, check the level of danger. And if there's not any, that's wonderful. I have a friend that had a condo in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and he lived in Tennessee. So he was doubting about going down there that weekend, and everything looked good on the roads until he got to I-95, which is the main north-south highway over on the coast. He got, nope, don't go that way. He didn't know why. The next day he found out. There was a tornado come through and blew a lot of trees down across I-95. The road would have been blocked. So use this stuff, folks. It's not rocket science. It's just plain old down-to-earth logic. So douse for things. Also, whenever you're dealing with anyone that involves money, check their integrity. If it's less than 90%, don't stay out of it. Don't deal with it. So you say you're invading another person's privacy or whatever if you check their integrity. Yeah, you probably are, but consider the alternative. It's better than getting ripped off and losing your money. So you always dial integrity of anyone that involves finances or anything that's important. Don't deal with thieves because you probably get robbed. Okay. Now, these are just things that I've never heard anything discussed at dowsing conferences. So why do I do it? Well, there's a need for it. And is it politically correct? I don't know. I don't even care. What my mission is to tell you people how to use your abilities and make your life better and not get in any danger, not get attacked, not get robbed. That is the bottom line. Whether it offends some sensitive person, I could care less. Okay? So the next thing, somebody asked me, let's see, I believe, Heather, I think you asked this. And quite frankly, I didn't get them all on there. You want to know what all I had on this problem package? Well, let me explain why I did that. I was asked to make a talk for the Ozark Research Institute folks, which I've done for 20-some years. And I thought, well, I want to do something real simple that will help people and it'll be useless and they won't even need me. So I created just thought up, really, a group of things that I thought people needed to check on. Now, I think I had more on there than what I've got here today. I think I got up to 16 at one time. Well, when I first filmed it, the only reason I did it, I ran out of things to say before I ran out of time. So I think, okay, let me fill in here with something that'll be useful to people. Well, I didn't have but 7 things on it at the time. And then I started thinking of other things, and people started reminding me of other things. So then we made another film that's a little bit more lengthy, and we explain things a little bit more. And rather than me go through all this right now, go to Raymond Gray's YouTube channel, and it's on there. And another thing we did, and I didn't really do this, but it was suggestions that some of the women were using it, didn't want to call it a problem package. They called it a protection package, which really sounded a lot better. So that's kind of the phrase that we're using on it now. But I will go ahead and give you a brief list here, but I don't think I've got everything on here. What I put on there was to neutralize effect off. Because, see, people are affected by a lot of things that's really not your fault. If you live in a big city with a high crime rate, may have some danger to deal with. But that's really not your fault. Only part of it's your fault is you chose to move there. But the danger is not your fault. That's somebody else's fault. So, but this right here is what I've got right now. Surrounding area. Now, folks, energy is contagious. Energy is more contagious than disease. And if you live in a high-rise apartment building with many hundreds or possibly thousands of people in it, that energy from those people come right through the wall into your place. I mean, a wall is not going to stop energy, okay? So if you live in an area with a lot of crime, that is going to have an effect upon you, upon your body, upon your home. Why? It's real simple. Einstein said it a long time ago. Energy is impressed upon matter. Okay? Thoughts and actions, especially violent actions, are energy. Your physical body is matter. You are affected by what goes on around you, whether you like it or not, or whether you know it or not. What can you do if you have a strong enough mind? You can neutralize the negative effect of the surrounding area upon you. Now, for all those out there that are on my energy clearing list, I do this and a whole lot more stuff every morning. Now, people thought it was a monthly clearing, and it was, but COVID hit, the world went crazy, and I'm thinking, okay, these people need more than once a month cleanup. So I'm going to do it for them every week. Well, things got even worse. So I said, I'm going to do it for them every day. So I'm doing 30 times as much as I promised to do for the same amount of money, about 80 cents a day. Also cleaning up water in the process. So every morning I run this, what I call the protection package on everybody that's on that list. And we got quite a few of them. Now, let me get back to this. I neutralize negative effect of surrounding area upon you folks. I neutralize the effect of mass consciousness. Mass consciousness is the combined thought forms of people. Well, right now, mass consciousness has a lot of fear. Why does it have fear? Because people watch TV and they see all kinds of horrific things happening pretty much around the world, sometime in their neighborhood, whatever. Okay. Again, you're exposing yourself to negativity. So that's the mass consciousness of people in many cases. And in the case of the 6 o'clock news, it's basically what the person giving the news has been told to tell you. All right. Human resonance is another one. That's the vibration of the earth. I don't want to get into that because it can get complicated. I know enough to use it, but I don't know enough to talk about it a lot. Another one is 5G. A lot of people are afraid of that. And whatever you fear shall come upon you. Do I fear that? No, I ignore it. I don't think we have it here, but if we did, I wouldn't pay any attention to it. The next is radiation. I know a lot of folks deal with that. I pay no attention to that either. Next is TV news and programming. I doubt to see how much truth is in news without dowsing any particular thing. 20% on a good day. Okay. What else? Yeah, TV news programming, politics, religion, and what have I put here now? Yeah, social media. Um, Someone set up a website, not a website. What was it? A Facebook page for me. I read it about 6 years ago, and I think these people ain't saying much, so I don't think the men need to read it again. So I turned it over to somebody else. But I remember reading something one day, and a fellow had written about himself. He said, "I just realized that I have sat here for 30 minutes, giving up a half hour of my life arguing with somebody on a computer, and I don't even know the person. So why waste your time doing stuff like that? Ain't no wonder the world went crazy. You got lots of tools to do it with. So that is what I've got. Plus, I think a few more on the energy clearing, which I do every morning for everybody. Now, do I go through all these things one on one? No, I said I want to take this energy clearing package and apply it to everybody that's on my list out there. You can't, as many people as I work on, you can't do it one on one. You got to do things as a group. Now, a lot of folks don't understand that. So let me see if I can explain it to you. I'll usually have maybe, let's say, 40 people in a class. Well, I've sent them emails. They've emailed me, but when they walk in the class, I really don't know who they are because emails don't have a picture that goes with it usually. But when I do a clearing in there, I do it for everybody. I don't ask them where they live. I don't ask them what size shoe they wear, what their dog's name is. I don't need to know that kind of stuff. I do this with intent to do this for everybody. Now, I got a little bit smarter. For years, when I taught a class, I would wait till everybody got there. I'd find out who lived in haunted houses, who worked in jails, who worked in psychiatric wards, because those were the people that always had the most problems. And I would clean them up, and they would feel better, and they would be happy, and all was well. Well, I got a little bit smarter. 2 years ago, I started trying something. It was a week or 2 weeks before the class. I would just put all the people that was coming to class in my clearing that morning. It was amazing how it worked. And you say, how did you do that? With intent. So I hope this is soaking in. How did I clean up 16,000 drunk Russians over there at a concert? With intent. So you don't have to know everything in order to do something. What you really need more than anything else is a belief in yourself that you can do it. And that's what I really try to instill in people, a belief in themselves. And if they say, "Oh, but I'm weak," well, okay, just get the hell out of the way. I ain't got time to talk to you. I'm interested only in people that are willing to do something. And the rest of them just don't bother me. So it's the only way you survive and just dealing with this many people. But we get things done. That's the important thing. We get things done. Okay, let's see. Now, somebody, I don't know who, doesn't matter, wrote a nice question here. I'm really glad you did because it gives me a chance to talk for quite a while on something that most people need to know. And the question was how to help her 15-year-old daughter to be safe at school. Okay, let's start. You couldn't have asked a better question because from what little I know of it, a lot of schools, not all now, not all, but a lot of schools are basically jungles. And a lot of bad stuff happens to kids and they go to school afraid. So I'm going to just tell you a story. And then I'm going to try to put enough information in here so you will understand what to do. But back in probably the early spring sometime, I got an email from a woman who was a school bus driver. And she was desperate. She says, "I'm going to have to quit. These kids are driving me crazy. They cuss me every day. They have no manners whatsoever. They are rude. They fight. It's just one thing after another. Well, I called, and she had just got in from the morning bus run, and she was about to fall apart, and she was crying. And she said, I'm just going to have to quit. I cannot handle this anymore, not all this abuse. So I won't tell you all the details as to where it was and type of kids and so on. But I found out where it was located, a little bit about the surrounding area, and then I checked, and I never had found this before. Every one of those kids lived in a haunted house. And I think, okay, what do we do? Well, the first thing I did was clean up the kids on the bus and the teachers and the principal of the school. And no, I did not ask their permission. Somebody got a question about that in here we might deal with later. This person, this lady bus driver, she needed help. I'm not going to ask anybody else if I can do it. I don't even care if they like it or not. As far as I'm concerned, she could have given my name and said, this is a fellow that cleaned up your school. I'm sure she didn't do that, but I wouldn't care if she did. All right. So what I did a mass exorcism, depossession, whichever word you like the best, on all the homes and the school and the teachers and the teachers' home. That evening, I got a phone call. She said this was not the same kids. They were quiet. They were polite. One of the ones that had been the worst hugged me before they got off the bus. This, folks, is what you can do with doubting. But you got to do it. And if you ask me how I did all that with intent, it wasn't that difficult. Yeah, it was a big project, but not like 16,000 drunk Russians that had cleaned up at a concert. So let's see, when was it? September. I was doing a class up in Eastern Virginia, and I'm not gotten much feedback on this. Sometimes people ask you to do something and they won't give you any feedback on it. But I just asked how many people here in the audience have kids or grandkids in school, and a lot of hands went up. I said, okay, I want to do you folks a favor. I know you weren't expecting it, but I'd like to do something for you. I'm going to clean up all your schools for you. Now, I did get some feedback from one of the teachers who was in a really rough school that things had calmed down some. Now, let me go over this step by step. If I'm assuming, I may be wrong, but I'm assuming that most of you people out there have kids or grandkids. All right. Which stands to reason that they probably go to school. If they are not going to school with a really clean environment where they get treated well, a place where they're safe, then you need to do something about it. Don't write me to do something about it. They're your grandkids. You do something about it. Okay? So, number one, you depossess the school and the teachers. You say, how do I do that? I've got a video. Change energy, change your life at RaymondGrace.us. You can get a download for $28. It's well worth the money. Get it. Follow directions. Okay, that's important, is follow directions. I designed that thing to where for people who didn't have enough courage to do it themselves, play the video with the intent. Now, you do have to have intent. With the intent that what I'm doing on that film is applied to your kids, grandkids, school, or wherever, or to a hospital, or to a jail. It don't make any difference, folks. You clean up a hospital the same way you do a school, or a jail, or a public office building. There's not any difference. So I've got a film. Use it. If you don't know how, if you already know how, then put it to use. So I've tried to make this information economically accessible to everybody with simple words. Now, please understand, folks, I never went to college a day in my life, and watermelon is the biggest word I know. So you don't need to have a big vocabulary to understand what I'm talking about. I keep it real blunt and real simple. Okay. So learn how to do this and clean up school. Okay. What else do you want to clean up? Clean up church. Folks, I find more spooks in churches than I do in Joe's bar. I'm not joking. This is a reality. You doubt me? Then you try. You will be probably surprised. Okay. So, but start with school. Then you can do the same thing with everything else. Your workplace. I don't know why people complicate this stuff because it's not that difficult. And you, some people might think, well, you can clean up a school, but you can't clean up where you work. Well, sure you can. We do it quite a bit. And I do my best to teach other people to do it because there's not enough for me to go around. So yeah, I come across pretty strong. Why? I'm trying to get people to pay attention and then do something. So let me talk a little bit more. Doing a depossession is the first thing you do. A lot of people have negative emotions. How do I know? Because I work on a lot of people with negative emotions. Negative emotions are transferable. What do? They're transformable. You transform them into self-love. Folks, there's 3 epidemics right now affecting the world. I do not understand them. I can correct them, but not permanent. But I can tell you what they are. The first one is fragmented soul. You say, what do you mean by that? I'm not sure. But it's the day when you go crazy and you can't think of anything and you feel like your whole life is falling apart. And that is probably because you have a fragmented soul. Okay. The next one is your brain is spinning backwards. The brain should have a clockwise spin. When it starts spinning counterclockwise, you have some problems making decisions. And the third thing is the spirit of love is leaving human bodies, like rats leaving a sinking ship. What's causing this? I do not know. I do know how to fix it. I don't know how to make it permanent. So if you just simply bring a soul back into this dimension and ground it with the present time and reality. That's a very simple statement. You get a brain spinning clockwise instead of counterclockwise, and you transform. Not transform. I'll say this right in a minute. You bring the spirit of love back into the body, and you say, "How do you do that?" You tell it to come back. You see, I don't have any long, fancy phrases for anything I do. It's like, okay, I want to invite the spirit of love back in this person's body. Now, another thing I'm running into, not a whole lot, but some, is people losing their desire to live. I even had it happen to a horse about 2 months ago. A fellow wanted me to work on a horse, sent me a picture of it. The horse had lost its desire to live, and it had lost its spirit of life. I brought the spirit of life back in, which increased the desire to live. The horse got up and walked away. That was simple. Okay. Now, not everything is going to be that simple, but some things are. Some things I'll be very honest and say I don't know how to fix. People have all manner of diseases that I do not know how to fix, and especially if they got long names to them and so on, I wouldn't have a clue what they are. You see, you won't find anybody that knows less about disease than I do. Why? Because I always tried not to learn. I grew up in a world where people talked about whatever their ailments were. Their arthritis, lumbago, sore throat, headache, whatever. It's like they wanted the whole neighborhood to know that they were in bad health. And the neighborhood did know it. And you know what? They never got well. They all died that way. You know why? Because energy follows thought. That's where they put their thought. That's what they got. So I studied those people. They were nice people. They really were. They just wasn't very smart. So I think, okay, if I'm going to survive any better than they did, I got to get smarter. So when people ask me how I am, I have a standard answer. I'm older than dirt and tougher than nails. That is my standard answer when anybody asks me how I am. And you know what? I brainwashed myself before I believe it. I brainwashed myself the same way those people with all the aches and pains brainwashed themselves. Same thing. You just got to get smart enough to do it, and you got to have courage enough to do it. I think back then, if anybody didn't, in that community, if anybody didn't have something wrong with them, they felt like an outcast. So they always had to have something to talk about. Well, there's a whole lot better things to talk about than your aches and pains. So, let some of that stuff soak in, folks. No, it's not diplomatic. I never intended for it to be. I intended to be helpful to you. If you like it, that's fine. If you don't, well, that's fine too. But I find that most people like what I do. Why? That's why I have 35,000 emails. And not one of them is cussing me out. Not one. So that's why I do what I do the way I do it, because it works. Works most of the time. Now, if a lot of folks ask me for how do you clear or cure something? Well, folks, since I don't know anything about diseases, I don't know how to answer that. Not at all. I always check to see is the person's life force or spirit in their body. Then I will check to see how much does their body want to live. Bodies lose their desire to live sometimes. How much love is in the body? Probably none. Well, I don't have any problem inviting in the spirit of love in people's bodies. Now, sometimes they won't keep it, but I can usually bring it in. I don't think I've ever failed to do that. You can, as far as I know, I've always been able. No, there may have been some exceptions of bringing the spirit of life back in a person's body, but at least you can give it a try, and chances are it will work. Okay, now I would like to kind of look this thing over here and see if I have given you enough information, real briefly and bluntly, where you can clean up your kids' grandkids' school. Now, I think I told this last year, but you might have forgot. When April started to school at 14 years old, because I wouldn't let her go before she was 14. Why? I didn't want her to get brainwashed, and I knew in a brain frequency down in the alpha level that kids are very easy to brainwash. So that's why I didn't want to send her. I thought I'd brainwash her myself. And I talked to a teacher. I'm greatly condensing this story. And I said, April's going to come to school here. And I want it to be a real pleasant situation for everybody. So I am going to clean up your school for you. I don't, whether you like it or not, you don't really have a choice. I'm going to clean up your school. Well, 3 years later, she comes home, brings a school teacher with her, and the lady was very pleasant. I said, how long have you been teaching? Oh, about 5 years. I said, okay, anything different now than it was 5 years ago? Oh, it's not the same place. Everything is so nice. We get along good. We don't fight. And then the light went on. April come to school here 3 years ago. What did you do? I said, I did exactly what I told you I would do. I cleaned the school up for you. Now, folks, this works. Works real well. So, and no, don't ask the principal if it's okay. Don't ask the teacher. Just do it. It's not their kid, it's yours. If it's your kid, you don't have to ask anybody for anything. Okay. Now, I hope that I have said enough here that gives you some idea. But if you still need it, just go get the download. I think you can afford $28. And then play that and clean your school up. But beyond that, learn a few more things about what you can possibly do. And then you start doing bigger things. Okay. Now, Einstein was a pretty sharp old guy. I never really knew much about him, but the teacher, and I was in algebra class when I was 16 years old, mentioned a fellow named Einstein. I'd heard the name, but it didn't mean anything to me. And she said the scientist said Einstein only used maybe 10% of his brain. Well, the thought came to me, what could the old boy have done if he'd used 25%? So I set out on a trip that day that's still going on. It's a long journey. What can we do if we use more of our minds? I still don't know everything about it, but I know a lot of things. And that's why I'm here talking to you now, because I got invited. Why did I get invited? Because I've accomplished things. You want to know. That's why you showed up today. I'm perfectly willing to tell you. And but I started out with the intent to see if I could learn what could be done with our mind. And I certainly haven't learned it all by any means, but I've learned enough stuff that I've reached 150 countries in the process. And we've got people practicing this stuff around the world. So at least I accomplished something. So there was another old philosopher. He was a German guy. His name was spelled Gottag. I don't know how it's pronounced. And he said, see a person as they are, and they'll get worse. See them as they could be, and they will improve. Well, I put that into practice. So I have a friend whose mom had a brain operation about a year ago. And after the brain operation, she could not walk, even with a walker or a cane. So I was informed about it. I did something. The next day, she is walking without the walker or the cane. Within the week, she had walked 4 miles in one day. How did we do it? I imagine taking hold of her hand and running down the beach. That's it. Don't look for anything else. It ain't there. I imagined her as she could be. That's simple. So, let me hit everybody real hard. If you have in-laws, holiday season's coming up, and you dread being with them, it ain't gonna get no better. If you think about that they're jealous of you or envious or they got bad dispositions or whatever, they ain't gonna get any better. But if you could imagine them, assuming you want to associate, this is something that you may feel you have to go to, whether you like it or not. I know people do that. I don't suffer from that belief system. I don't want to go anywhere. I just don't go. So imagine the person the way you would like for them to be. Now, we've been doing some practicing on this. It's working pretty good. Now, don't tell anybody what you're doing. Just do it all in your mind and see how things go. The worst you'll do is nothing. Now, do this at work. I've been practicing quite a bit with a few people with work challenges. We're winning. We might not win 100% all the time, but overall, we are winning. So I received a little note here a while back. I was on 3 talk shows in the last, I guess, about a year and a half with a talk show host named Tom McCarthy. And Tom was an excellent host. He knew how to ask the right questions, and we got along. We did real well. Well, he sent me a little note that science has verified that the brain cannot tell the difference in imagination and reality. Well, I'm glad science caught up with me because I said that years ago. If we imagine something, we can think it's real. Okay. So your imagination on the unpleasant relatives or guests or whoever and see them behaving better is probably going to change. Now, what's that going to do for you? It's going to empower you quite a bit. It's going to say, hey, I can do this. Yes, you can. So I just wanted to tell you that. It's a good time of year to tell you that the holidays coming up. Make them more pleasant this year. And do it with your imagination. And the good thing about imagination is nobody knows you're doing it. So nobody gets in the way. You're not obligated to go up to them and say, I have been praying for you. I've been imagining you smiling and behave yourself and being polite, not acting like an idiot at this gathering. You don't need to do that. You don't tell them anything. You just do it. Okay. All right. Now, let's see here. What else? Now, that we hadn't even got to the questions yet. Somebody's going to have to tell me when we run out of time. But that was, and let me tell you why I did it this way. I was kind of leading up to how I could help you keep your kids and grandkids safe in school. And I give you the simplest way that I know how. Oh, one more thing. And I don't have this in the video, I don't think, because I wasn't smart enough to have figured it out at the time I made that film. There's a thing called archetypes. An archetype is a trait or a characteristic that affects a person's behavior, and there may be lots of them. So if there's kids at school that are bullies, they probably have bully archetypes. Take them away from them. You say, how do I do that? With intent. Same way I do it. And transform those bully archetypes into peace, friendliness, something like that. Now, let's see if I can get all this straight. Sometimes I have to think about things before I say it. We have the ability as an intelligent human being to transform energy. Now, Einstein made another statement. Everything's energy, that's all there is to it. Well, I made a statement very close to his back before I even knew anything about it. And that is, all things, including belief, thought, memories, and opinions, are forms of energy. The intelligent human mind has the ability to direct energy. That's it in a nutshell. So this is how you take negative situations and turn them into positive ones. Now, I'm going to sound like a flower child when I say this, but I assure you I'm not one. But you can take anger, fear, greed, grief, hatred, all manner of negative emotions and transform them into love. Yeah, that makes me sound like a flower child. That's why I have to wear a gun and a knife to the public know that I'm not a flower child. But anyway, that's what you can do. How do I know? Well, we do it. And then if you're one of those people that went to too many meetings that says you're interfering with another human being, and my answer is damn right, and I'm good at it. So you just get things done, folks. You say, but I don't feel capable. Well, if you don't give it a try, you never will. Whenever I started out, I didn't know that I could change the taste of water on a Zoom show in Alaska. I had no idea. But I kept working at it. And now that video's out there on my YouTube channel, and you can watch it if you like. I don't remember what the title of it was, but somebody in Alaska had me on their show, and they said they had terrible water. And I said, well, how long would it take you to go get a cup? Oh, no, just go here in the kitchen. I said, well, go get you one. Let the water run about 10 seconds. Fill a cup, get about half a cup full, come back in here, and let me watch you drink it. And the expression on their face brightened up. This water's delicious. Well, I thought most of the people in the world know that's impossible, but I don't know that. And I didn't get that way overnight. I got it a little bit at a time. I set a goal 37 years ago to clean up some of the water on this planet. I don't have it all done yet, but I've got part of it. And that's why I like to share information. I very willingly share information with people. Why? Because I'm hoping you'll do something too. And if enough people will do something, we can change an awful lot of stuff out there. We sure can. And the Dowsers are really about the only people that can do it. Why? Because the rest of them don't know how. So that's why I encourage you to practice, learn, listen, do something. Okay. Now, let's see here. Let's get into the questions, and I hope I don't get too sidetracked on it. So what I did, I just had these copied and printed out in a on 3 sheets right here. I don't know how long it'll take to go through them. The one was, can you clear negative emotions and fear from our group at this time? Well, my answer is maybe I can, probably can, but if you watch the news tonight, you'll get it all over again. So is it worth the effort? If you're going to watch the news tonight, there's no point in wasting my time. But you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. All right, so this is what we're going to do, folks. I really hadn't meant to do this, but my gut feeling is saying, yeah, do it. If I don't, nobody else will, so I'll do it. On the group here, what is your overall average level of fear? You're worse shape than I thought you were in. 100 on a scale of 0 to 100, it's 170%. This ain't good, people, and you are supposed to be working with energy. What is it you're afraid of? Well, if you watch the news, you are afraid of terrorist attacks. You're probably afraid to go to the grocery store. And, it's understandable. I'm not trying to beat you up. I'm trying to help you. So this is what we're going to do. On an average, how many negative emotions do you folks have in your body? No kidding. Okay, I don't know how many people here know Dr. Bradley Nelson, who wrote a book called The Emotion Code. Well, I did a what's the word for it? Where you write a little paragraph advertising his book. He asked me if I would do that for him, and I did. I'm not too good with words like that, but I did that. Matter of fact, he flew in here to see me. We hosted a little dinner for him. It went well, but he really solved a problem for me because I had been finding 60 negative emotions in people's bodies, and I didn't believe it. I was trying to think, how many negative emotions can I think of? Oh, maybe 10 at the most. Anger, fear, grief, things like that. But he come up with 60. And I had been finding 60 for a few years and never believed it. But so I guess he was right. I learned something from him. Well, folks, that's how many I get here. Now, this is actually 60, right? Okay. You know, how much courage do you have? Oh, 10% on a good day. You know what we're going to do, don't you? We're going to take all the fear in your body, mind, and spirit of the whole group here. And we're going to turn that in to courage, confidence, and self-love. And I'll tell you why about self-love in a minute. Now, I'm going to hold the pendulum up here just like this so you can see it. Yeah, I know it's spinning so fast you can't hardly see it. Going in a clockwise direction. And then we're going to measure it again. And you feel free to measure yourself. You don't have to take my word for this. Okay. Done. All right. That's a 45-70 bullet on the chain. Okay. We don't have these for sale. We only sell 45. So these are hard to come by. Now, you measure yourself here. Go ahead. Don't be shy. How much fear is in this group?
Yes. Okay, I'm putting on my shoes. Okay.
Well, I'm getting about 0. How much courage do you have now? About on an average, 95%. How much confidence? About 95%. Okay. End of the show. Nothing else to do. Now, somebody better tell me when to quit talking. I looked at my clock here, and have I actually been talking over an hour?
Just about an hour, but you've got like 18 more minutes.
You want me
and
to?
then
Okay, well, let me run through these questions real quick.
Okay, and we'll let you know. We'll have an official closing of the meeting, and then if you choose, we can stay open later. So we've got an option to stay. Okay.
Let me just get it all done. Let me just give you a short now.
Okay.
What's the best way to get into the alpha brain state? Daydream. Imagine what something's like. That's it. Now, you tell me that you can't imagine. Oh, a lot of people tell me that. People in the class that I just cannot visualize anything. Okay, no problem. Know how to fix it. So I'm going to ask all of you right now. Now, I don't want personal feedback from you. I'm just going to talk you through it. I want you to close your eyes, and in front of you is an elephant. Now, remember what an elephant looks like. He's gray and big, and imagine count his toenails. Okay, you imagine the trunk. Imagine the great old big floppy ears. Look at his eyes. Now, I would like for you to open your eyes, please. And I can't see everybody on the screen, so I guess I'll have to leave this out. But I'm going to ask the question like a winning class. How many of you, of your elephant, were pointing to your right? And the hands will go up. Some hands will go up. How many were pointing to the left? And a few more hands will go up. How many of you had an elephant that was looking right straight at you? And a few more hands will go up. And I say, don't tell me you can't visualize. You just did. It's that simple. You imagine what something looks like. Okay. So daydreaming puts you in alpha brain frequency. The alpha brain frequency allows you to accomplish far more with your brain than a beta brain frequency. I won't get into the details, but that is the question, the answer to the question: how do you get into the alpha state? Daydream. Is there an affirmation you recommend for self-healing? Yes. Thank your body every day and give thanks to the spirit of love, because it doesn't matter what is wrong with a person when they write me. I'm going to ask how much love's in the body. There's not any. So every day, thank the spirit of love. Do it every morning when you get up. And if you've got a body part that is hurting, put the spirit of love in it and thank it. I grew up in a world that people were cussing their arthritic knees and cussing their elbows and sore fingers. They didn't get well. You don't do that to your body. You thank your body. It appreciates it. Every cell of your body has intelligence. I don't have time to get into all this, but I've learned quite a bit about body, but every cell has intelligence. We have the ability to influence what that body part believes. And that's why you thank it and put the spirit of love in. Okay? Is there an affirmation to help with environmental food and sensitivities? Yeah, of course there is. I have used this for 30 years of helping people get over allergies. So I'm going to say it real simple. I really like to do it. Well, I'll do it for everybody out there. You don't need to say anything. Think of what you're allergic to. Okay? Does my dowsing system understand what these people are allergic to? You do. Can I get rid of it for them? I want to neutralize the negative effect of all allergic foods upon this bunch right here. I'm going to take all that food now and transform it into the most appropriate energy to be nutritionally beneficial for their bodies. We have stopped a lot of allergies and nothing more than that right there. But what did it? Intent. Okay. Do we have to ask permission before we work on someone or check someone energetically? This has been a question among dowsing societies since the first time I ever attended one 30 years ago. And they ain't got it right yet. There's always somebody going to say, you can't do this without permission. Well, I have advice if someone tells you that. Ignore them. Now, if it's something personal, someone, I might ask them, would you like for me to check this for you or something? But if they call me asking for help, I know they want me to check. But you have a right to know if you're dealing with somebody that's honest, if there's a pedophile in your school, or maybe one of the teachers, or if it's somebody thinking about robbing your house, you not only have a right, you have an obligation to educate yourself to who you're dealing with. So the people that tell you can't do this without permission, ignore them. I've been ignoring them for 30 years. Okay. How do we best remove effects of aging? Well, I wrote down an answer here. Either die early or think young. That's it. If you think you're getting old, you're probably right. But my body don't know it's as old as it is. Why? Because I just keep going. That's why I have that attitude I have of older than dirt and tougher than nails. Real simple. Okay. How do we douse with our mind and not use tools? Okay. Again, use imagination. Imagine you have a pendulum. Imagine you have a chart. Imagine where it spins. My buddy Jeff Jones drives down the road at 80 miles an hour dowsing with his mind. He's good at it. He's a man that's lived 26 years on nothing but water. As a matter of fact, when I'm doing local classes, which is about the only ones I do anymore, I've been inviting him, and he comes up and speaks at least for an hour on the things that he's accomplished. He's accomplished more than anybody I know. So I always have him show up if he has time and talk to the people and be an inspiration to them. See, we're in the people helping people business. So when people come from around the world, I've even had them from Tasmania and Australia and Taiwan and God knows where. When people come that far, I want to make sure they get something to take back home with them. Well, I'm doing the same thing for you. You took your afternoon to tune in here. Well, it didn't cost you anything, but I still want to give you something for it. Okay. Now, what wording can we use to going back in time to the time of birth for, I don't quite understand how you worded this, for sexual abuse in past or present lives. I don't connect the time of birth and the abuse all together. But rather than me explain this, since we're running short on time, Google my name, West Coast Dowsing Company, and it's a 45-minute film. It's the most blunt one I have ever made, and right at the end, I give you a demonstration of how I went back in time and stopped the girl from being tortured. I've told that story in every class, but I don't think we got time to tell it here. So just go watch the video. It's free. And matter of fact, I've done this same thing a lot of times. See, when I was a kid, it always bothered me because people, and especially females, got abused so bad. And I set up a goal to learn how to do something about it. Well, if you look at your audience tonight, we've got over 90% female. Or today, I mean, not night where you are yet, but gonna get dark here pretty soon. But that's the way all my classes are. 90% female, at least. Well, that's fine. I'm glad to have it because they seem to be able to relate to this. I can't do this on film and it takes too long, but I wish I had all of you in one audience. I would ask you a question. how many of you feel more empowered now than you did 3.5 years ago? And I would bet you at about 90% of the hands would go up. You do in every class I teach, I ask that question, and that's usually what goes up, about 90% of the hands, maybe 95%. And a few times, all of it. There was something done, I won't get into it here, to empower you and hopefully make life safer for you. Okay? I do a lot of stuff I don't say a whole lot about. What's the best wording to use to rid the body of toxic heavy metals? Well, I don't know much about this, but for anything in the body that doesn't need to be there, I simply scramble its frequency and turn it into water. So that's a very short answer. Does it really matter which way it goes if as the pendulum goes, if your intention is right? Probably not. Mine always goes to the right if I'm increasing and to the left if I'm decreasing. But if yours does it backwards and you still get results, then don't bother to change it. It's okay. Where do I find the information on meaning and direction of the pendulum? Okay, I got a video that does that. It's called Explaining the Dowsing Chart. And it's at RaymondGrace.us. And I went through pretty good detail on that one, or at least I hope I did. Okay. How can I get past my own doubt and learn how to trust my answers? I've always been my own worst enemy. And I wrote down here, you probably have low self-esteem. The only way I know to build confidence is to do something and win. And the more you win, the more confidence you have. When I first learned how to energize water, it was a little cup full, about like this. Okay? Why? Because that's what Jose Silva showed me how to do. I did not know that I could energize a lake at the time and probably couldn't. So I energized cups of water. Then as I got opportunities, I energized a well. Then a lake that provides water for 2 million people. Could I have done that on the first day I started to learn that? No, I don't think so. We learn by doing. And the more we do, the more we learn that we can do. Would I have tried to depossess 16,000 people in Russia on the day that I first learned how to do a depossession? No, I wouldn't have had confidence to do it. But I have the confidence to do it now. And one day we'll do a little better than that. So confidence builds success, and success builds more confidence. Okay, next page. All right. Please discuss the dowsing process techniques and used to heal your knee to prevent surgery. Well, I put out 2 videos on that. The first one I put on at the end of doing a talk for Ozark Research Institute because I just needed to fill in some time. And I think, well, I'll tell them about how I built myself a new knee. And then I was getting a lot of questions on it. And I think, well, maybe I didn't make it clear enough. So we made about no more than a 4-minute video, and it's on my YouTube channel where I explain it. But I'll explain it now, real simple. This knee had hurt for 28 years. I had limp. Sometimes it was swollen. And one day I got the idea. Now I'm going to tell you how I got the idea. Someone sent me a video about, I think it was about DNA. And I didn't really understand it. But the speaker made a statement that I understood but disagreed with. He said 95% of all DNA is junk. And I'm thinking, you just ain't got smart enough to figure it out yet. I don't think the creator created junk. So I'm going to give it a new name. I'm going to call all that 95% you're calling junk, I'm going to call it unknown DNA. Now, did I ask anybody to do this? No, I don't ever ask anybody to do anything. I just do it. Okay. So what I did, I sat there and I thought about this a moment. And I said, I want to go back in time, the moment of conception, and remove all information from all strands of my DNA that contributes to a crippled left knee. And I did use a pendulum, and it went down, round and round and round counterclockwise. Okay, it stopped. Now, I want to still stay at the moment of conception and put all useful DNA, no, all useful information in my DNA, helping me to have a perfectly healthy, well-functioning left knee. Next morning, I couldn't walk. I had to get a cane to walk with. I think, well, this wasn't the plan. So after about 2 or 3 days, I called my friend Jeff, and I said, Jeff, did I actually do what I thought I did, or did I just mess up something? He said, oh, you did it. It's just going to take you a while. He said, you've already created your knee, but the rest of your leg, the muscles, the ligaments, and everything hadn't got accustomed to it yet. And it did take about 6 months, maybe a little longer, to get everything worked out. But now I take long strides. I walk like I walked over 30 years ago. So you might ask me, can you do that? There ain't but one way to find out. Try and see. I find that people a lot of times look for something that really is not there. And they have trouble accepting that that's all I did. They think there was something magical about it. Well, there might have been, but that's all I did. I changed my DNA. And if you ask me, how did you know you could? I didn't. I just didn't know I couldn't. Okay? So if you got something that's not working, give it a try. All right. How do I underwrite? I don't quite understand language like this, but how do I underwrite what culture, society has said I cannot do? And what I have accepted I cannot do because I thought it was impossible. Well, my answer is I ignored society. Real simple. If somebody tells me I can't do something, that gives me determination to do it, prove them wrong. So people have made all kind of rules, and I have probably broke most of them, and no apologies are made. I only believe in two things, folks. I believe in kindness. That's why I'm talking to you today. And I believe in freedom. I don't really believe in much else. Okay. Now, right here, this is a question about affirmations. How do they work when you're saying something you don't believe in? Well, they probably don't. You got to believe you're doing something before you do it, or believe at least it might be possible. See, I didn't know I could build me a new knee, but I didn't know that I couldn't. So, I tried, and it worked. You will always win more by believing you can than by believing you can't. But Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or can't, you're right. Okay, would I recommend to study the use of civil mind control method? Well, I would have recommended it while I was teaching it because I think I helped a lot of people with it. But it's changed hands. I do not know exactly what they're doing now, so that's the only answer I can give you. I can say at the time I took it, at the time I teach it or taught it, it was extremely helpful. I helped myself, changed my life, helped a lot of other people change their lives. But I don't know how it's being run now, so I can't answer any more than that. How important is it to be in an alpha or relaxed state before dowsing? Well, don't complicate this much, folks, because if you will just practice it, dowsing will put you in an alpha state. So you don't need to sit down and go through a complicated procedure before you start to douse, because I'll douse driving down the road. One hand on the stern wheel, one hand got a pendulum. So it's not as difficult as you might think. Have I ever helped people with psychological problems, and is dowsing the right method to use? I don't really know how to answer this question. I have made a few crazy people sane, and I might have made a few sane people crazy. I don't know. But is dowsing the right method to use? The only way I can answer that is it is if it works. So have I used dowsing? The biggest thing I think I do with people that are, I would call them insane, is when their brains are spinning backwards and the spirit of life has left their body. If the brain is spinning backwards, they're not thinking clearly. So it's a simple matter to say, hey, I want to turn this around and let your brain spin clockwise. I mean, that's all there is to it. You don't really need to say any Hail Marys or anything like that. Just spin the brain clockwise. I've never seen it fail. Now, it affects some people more than others. I have one friend, and I've got to straighten her brain out about 5 mornings a week. You say, well, how can you manage to put up with that? Well, it's a nice person. Don't take long to do it. I can do it in 30 seconds. So, when I can help somebody in 30 seconds, I try to help. Okay. Let's see. But anything about psychological problems, sometimes I've helped people, sometimes not. Sometimes the people were possessed. And that's an easy one to fix. But sometimes they got brain problems that I don't know how to fix. So I don't want to give the idea that I have helped an awful lot of people become sane that were just way off the wall. All right. Do I have any experience with the angels? I'm a Catholic, and I am curious to know whether an angel exists and are perhaps the same as spirit guides. Well, that's an intelligent question. But my question to you is, why didn't you ask the priest instead of a hillbilly? So, that makes a hell of a lot more sense. So if you ask me, I would say if you want to believe that they exist, I think you ought to do that. I believe that things called spirit guides exist. Are they equal to angels? They may be, probably. But does it really matter? Not to me, it don't. As long as we can get spiritual help, and we can, you can put whatever name you want. I think most people like to use the name angel, so keep doing it. If it works for you, keep doing it. All right, let's see. Oh, I added another note on here. This indicates that you doubt the Catholic teachings. What do you want? Well, let's see. What will you do if I say yes? What will you do if I say no? So you figure that one out. Okay. Do you have any experience with different pendulums? Are they supposed to come from Egyptian design? I have no idea. Are they necessary? Well, all I've put is here, I lived a long time without them because I didn't know they existed. So if you want to get some with the Egyptian designs, go ahead. I would caution you to don't pay a ridiculous price of $200 or more for a pendulum. People get suckered into this all the time. And if anybody out there is listening and selling them like that, I'm bad for your business because I'm telling everybody before I talk, folks, don't get suckered into paying $200 and $400 for a magical pendulum. They don't exist. I'll sell you a bullet for $20. If you don't have $20, tie a nut on a string. It'll still work for you. We're getting too many con artists in the business, folks. Way too many. So what does some hillbilly like me do? Just raise his hell about the thing. And whether people like me or not, I don't really give a damn. Okay, so next thing. I wish I could make a talk every now and then and stay calm, but it ain't easy to do with stuff like this going on. So is it possible to douse in a gene that is missing in the genetic code? Well, I just told you the story about my knee. That's the only evidence I would have that might be possible. But again, anytime someone asks me, is something possible, I'm going to say, try it and see. That's how I like. Okay. Well, I suggest some exercises for strengthening the mind. Yeah, it's called imagination. And you know why? Because energy follows thought. And you can use imagination to make things happen or to stop things from happening. All right. Have you ever neutralized a genetic disorder? Well, okay, that was a neat story. It's been said that we could hold a lot of potential in our DNA. Well, I didn't say it, but it may be true. Probably is. I don't know enough about DNA to say a whole lot, but I got a little bit of information recently that I can't say much about because I don't know much. But supposedly these people were using some of my methods. At least that's the way the information came to me. And they found that DNA contains all the memory of all of our ancestors. Now that we know that, I don't know what we're going to do with it, but I just thought I would throw that out. It's not been published yet, but I thought, well, I'll mention it because if that's true, then in my opinion, which may not be right, we could bring back the characteristics of our ancestors that would be beneficial and put in our bodies. Now, that's probably a little far out, but I think maybe do it because I'll tell you what I'm doing now. And I can't name names here, but let's just say fairly influential politicians. And I know you thought I didn't know a politician, but actually I know a few. And they contact me to help them make speeches. I'm serious. I'm very serious. And I can tell you what I did. One was running for a pretty high office, and it was female and a good friend, and had a very important speech to make. So I'm thinking, well, how can I help? I don't know anything about making speeches. But all at once I think, we will get some influential person to help her out. So I invited in the spirit of Eleanor Roosevelt. She said that was the best speech she ever made. I had another one, needed to make a speech. I invited in the spirit of Ronald Reagan. He was a good speech maker. Whether you like him or not, it's immaterial. Now, so what am I saying? I'm saying we invited in the spirit of someone to help these people make a speech, and it worked. We get into this pretty deep sometimes. That's about all I need to say right now, though. Okay, let's see. Okay, is there any way to shorten the time that a pendulum spins? Is a half hour in one direction? Not for me, it ain't. Now, when I first started dowsing, it would start and spin and spin. And I think, wait a minute, we got to get over this. And I said, hey, you, I live on planet Earth. We got something called time down here, and there's not enough of it to go around. So you're going to have to work faster than this. And it did. Okay. How can I keep from influencing the dowsing results? Ask to disregard your opinion. Okay. And let's see. Once I told a story about how April figured out how to get proper nutrition from the food, no matter what she eats. Intention. That's easy to answer. Would like to know if dowsing can be used to determine future events with any accuracy. In my opinion, all dowsing is now. And what you douse to be true today might not be true tomorrow. So I have people write and ask me to help them pick lottery tickets. Well, there's only one person I've ever helped, and he won. Or at least he won one time. But this is what I tell people. No, I won't. Because if you win, you probably won't give me any of the money. If you lose, you'll blame me for losing your money. So I just don't do that. All right, last page. We'll get over with. No, that was it. That was the last page. Okay, you survived.
You did, and
At
their
least
timing is perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to thank you for the invitation. I want you to thank you for hanging in here with me I talked for at least an hour and a half.
You did.
Didn't know it was going to take that long. I was really wondering what I was going to fit time in with, but that was not a problem. So I want to thank. Go ahead.
So I said you did. You filled it in great, and we really, really appreciate you coming. And go ahead and finish your statement, and then I will close the meeting when you're done.
I didn't quite understand it. You're asking me to finish a statement?
Yeah. You were going to thank someone, so I thought I would let you finish that, and then I would close the meeting.
For some reason, I'm not hearing all that, so you go ahead and take it.
Okay, so anyway, I want to thank you, Raymond, for coming again, and I'm going to request that I schedule you again next year, same time, if you're available. And anyway, I want to thank everybody for showing up. I want to remind folks that our next meeting is on December 2nd, and it's with Jackie. Jackie, you can wave. She's the one that's been putting stuff in the chat, letting y'all in, and she's very knowledgeable. So please join us. It's going to be at 1:30 Pacific time. It's always at 1:30 Pacific time. For Arizona people, that means that we're going to be tuning in at 2:30 because the time is changing, and we don't. So you have to adjust. So it'll be 2:30 for Arizona people and 1:30 Pacific time. It's always 1:30 Pacific time, even for Arizona people. So we'll hopefully see you all there.